Welcome everyone, and everyone is welcome. This video is going to be a flip through the first 6 months of my reading journal. I read 41 books this first half of the year, and basically I am using a Buke Notebooks journal, and I'm going to show you everything that I did in this journal. I will say I set up this journal thinking that it would be for a full year, so some of the spreads are about half full, but this is what my spreads look like, starting with my cover page, and then we flip over to a quote page and a tip-in because I read more books than expected. So these are all the books I read this past 6 months, and then flipping out the opposite direction is all the books on my to-be-read list. If they're colored in, that means I read them. And my DNF graveyard, I DNF'd 6 books through these past 6 months. We flip over again, and we get to my book bingo. I got 2 book bingos, but I wasn't actually really working toward a book bingo. It just kind of if it happened, then it happened, but I thought 2 was pretty good. And then this is my how many can I fill in spread. Every time one of these prompts met my book, I would just fill it in over and over again, and it was a lot of fun. Here's my book bracket, January through June, and a list of favorite character, couple, side character, villain, series, ending, plot twist, new author, cover, and world. So for the first 6 months, my favorite book was definitely The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. Loved that book. I read it in February and knew right then that it was the book of the year pretty much. Here is a list of the upcoming releases that I wanted to keep track of, and then on the opposite page we have all of my quotes that I wanted to keep track of. Again, read a lot more than I expected, so a lot of these are very full, or I had to add extra space. My Year of Goober 2025 Reading Challenge through June, I managed to meet one of the prompts each month, and then my graph to track how many books I read each month. 41 in total. Also my reading wrap up. My favorite month and my most read month was May. I read 10 star reads 7 times, no rereads. My most remarkable read was These Immortal Truths by Rochelle Rayetta, and my most read author was Nicole Scarano. My quarter 1 cover page, and I'm just showing you the little flip out for my color scheme key. And then getting into my spreads. This is Emma by Jane Austen. 448 pages, published 1816. I gave it 10 out of 10 stars. First read of the year, it was fantastic. Whisked Away by My Billionaire Fake Boyfriend by Bella Green, I gave 4 out of 10 stars. And then Grim Expectations by Amanda M. Lee, I gave 8 out of 10 stars. This was book 5 in the Ashlyn Grimlock series. The Siren's Mutiny by Jessica S. Taylor, I gave 7 out of 10 stars. It's kind of a mermaid themed spread. And then we get to The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton, which is book 1 in the Love's Academic series. I gave 10 out of 10. This is my favorite book of the year so far, and I fully expect it to keep that status all the way to the end of the year. I also read The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton, which is the first in the Dangerous Damsel series. I didn't love this series as much, but it was alright. Girl Meets Grump by Haley Gardiner is the first book in the Kitts Harbor series. I did not complete this series. It gave it a 7 out of 10 though. The Shadows Heir also got a 7 out of 10. This is by C.F.E. Black, and it's the second book of the Secrets of the Fae. Really enjoyed that one. The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick, 6 out of 10. I almost DNF'd it, and I did DNF The League of Gentlewomen Witches by India Holton, which is the second book of the Dangerous Damsel series, so I did not finish the series. Dangerous Assassin by Elizabeth Wheatley is the first book in the series and is 6 out of 10 rating. And then we flip over to see Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, which is the first book in the Emily Wilde trilogy. I gave this one a 10 out of 10. Absolutely love this trilogy, and this trilogy did give The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love a run for its money in my favorite books. We're flipping over again to Bound by Blood by J.M. Butler. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. It was just a cute little romance with some fantasy in it. Very simple book. I enjoyed it. And then we go to my quarter 1 summary. These are all the pie graphs that I made. I had marked that I read 10 star reads 4 times, and my favorite book was The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. And then we start my monthly spread. So April, here is my calendar, book list, favorite book, and then my monthly summary on the other page with my most anticipated read. I marked I had 1 DNF and 1 10-star read. Eros and Psyche I actually put wrong because the title is actually Psyche and Eros by Luna McNamara. Another 10-star read. Absolutely loved this book and very much recommend it. It was very emotional and piercing. Loved it. Flipping over, we go to The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean, 490 pages. I ended up DNFing this one. I just didn't get that into it and wasn't enjoying it. Oryx and Pastries by Sophie Honey, 2 out of 10. This was not a good book. Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands is book 2 in the Emily Wilde series by Heather Fawcett, and I gave this one also 10 out of 10. Absolutely loved this one. I think I loved it even more than the first book. Just spectacular. The Geographer's Map to Romance by India Holton is the second book in the Loves academic series. I gave it a 9 out of 10. This was my most anticipated read of the year. I really enjoyed it, but not quite as much as I enjoyed book 1. We then get to a double spread. Artificial Condition by Martha Wells is the second book in the Murderbot Diaries series. I gave it a 7 out of 10. And Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater is the book 1 in the Regency Fairy Tale series. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Artificial Condition, the Murderbot series I really have been enjoying, but I'm reading it super slowly. Autopsy of a Fairy Tale and Forensics of a Fable are both by Nicole Scarano. They're the first 2 books in the Autopsy of a Fairy Tale series. I gave the first book 8 out of 10 and the second book 9 out of 10. And then we get to my May spreads. May was the month of Jashi Corin's readathon, so I have several spreads set up for this, but here's my book list, calendar, and my point system for tracking the readathon. We then flip over and go to some just reference points for like rules and important dates and the TBR list and things like that. I tried to keep the color scheme going from her printables here, and then this is print out of all of the covers of the books that I read and which prompt they met, as well as a little like a TBR list for the specific month. Getting into my book spreads, The Courting of Bristol Keats is the first book of the series by Mary A. Pearson. I gave it a 7 out of 10. My Brother's Grumpy Best Friend by Aggie B. Grayson, I gave a 3 out of 10. It was meh. It was alright. The Kidnapping of a Myth by Nicole Scarano is book 3, and Autopsy of a Fairy Tale, I gave it an 8 out of 10. And A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft is a 9 out of 10. Almost made it up to 10, but I just kind of held it back just a little bit. Really enjoyed that book. That was a surprise. Criminology of a Character by Nicole Scarano is book 4 in the Autopsy of a Fairy Tale series. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. But He's My Grumpy Neighbor by Anna Conwell is book 1 in the But He's a Carter Brothers series, and I give it a 7 out of 10. Empire of Shadows by Jacqueline Benson is the first book in the Raiders of the Arcana series, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this book and have since read the second book in the series as well. These Immortal Truths by Rochelle Rieta is book 1 of the Peaches and Honey series, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. I'm really looking forward to reading the second book in the duology of this one. And then we get to The Scattered Bones by Nicole Scarano. This one's not part of a series. I gave it 8 out of 10 stars. Really beautiful, a very emotional book. Here's my spread for June. I have my favorite book of June, my calendar and book list, and then the wrap up on the other spread, which is just all the covers of the books I read and some pie charts that I thought were relevant. I had 1 DNF in June. Here is May's review. I accidentally put the pages in the wrong order, but I have all the books that I read. I read 11 books, 1 DNF, 1 10-star read, and then can't wait to read in June is The Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett, which is the final book. Her Billionaire Boss by Joe Grafford is a 2 out of 10 and is remarkably the worst book I think I've ever read, but definitely the worst book I've read this year. Dog Girl Meets Dead Guy by Lydia Foxglove, I gave a 7 out of 10, and Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett is the third book in the Emily Wilde trilogy, bringing it to a close. This one I gave 8 out of 10. I didn't love it as much as the first 2 books, but it was still a really great series, and I really loved the book. LMNOP by Mark Dunn, published in 2002. I did not rate because I DNF'd this book. I just didn't get into it. It wasn't bad, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I'd like to. And then here is Tomb of the Sun King by Jacqueline Benson, which is the second book of the Raiders of the Arcana series. I gave it a 7 out of 10, did not like it as much as the first book, but it was cute, and I'm looking forward to reading the third book in the series. So that is all of my spreads that I did. If you want to see more info about any of these, I do have them on my YouTube and also on my Instagram, Bullet Journaling by Marianne. Thank you for watching.